Oh, it costs too much. Oh, I couldn't do that. It's way too expensive. Oh no, I don't want to waste my time with that. Have you ever thought about what people are saying when they say that it costs too much or they don't have enough time? What they're doing is they're acknowledging one fact, but not thinking about it from a complete perspective. Here's what I mean. Years ago, I knew a lot of people that were into saving money, and I knew that was the fad for a long time. They'd have all these coupon books, and they'd go out and they'd be clipping coupons. They'd get these newspapers, and they'd go out and they'd put them all into these little folders, and then they'd go to the store and they'd go walking down the aisle. Oh man, this is on sale. Okay, grab as many as I can. Then I'm going to use this coupon, and then they look it up. Oh man, I can also stack this coupon on it. And before you know it, they come out and they're like, man, I went to the store and I bought like all this stuff, and it would have cost me $300, but because I did all these things, it now only cost me $100. I saved $200. And they'd be so excited, and they film a video and they put it up on social media, and everyone's like, you're so amazing, this is incredible. But did you recognize what they actually paid for that $300 worth of stuff? Now for some of them, that was a really good deal. But for others, they were actually doing that not to save the stuff, but because they were going to get a bunch of influence over other people from their videos, and then they were going to make money from that. So for a bunch of people, they were actually not saving money. It was a business model. So what I'm trying to say with all that is, oftentimes the price we pay is higher than the actual cost of buying it outright. So for those couponers, by the time they stacked up all of the time that they were using to try and get the coupons ready, figure out what sales were going on, figure out what stores they had to go to, figure out their route and what they were buying from which store and how they were going to stack their coupons, they spent way more time trying to do all that stuff than they were actually saving in money. Plus, then they're buying a bunch of garbage that they didn't actually need. And we had people that be like, oh, look, I bought all these things and I saved all this money. Do you want some? Because I don't need all these. I'm thinking, you saved a bunch of money so that you could give it away, not have it, not use it. So they were purely trying to just give themselves a boost inside their brain. Now, that's okay. If that's what works for people, that's great. But in business, and oftentimes when we're trying to accomplish something, those kinds of mindsets can be our enemy. People will say, oh, I don't have enough time to do that. Well, what are you really saying? Because everybody has the same amount of time. Everybody was born, they're alive right now, they have no clue when they're going to die, so they don't know how much time they have. They may die in that moment, they may die in another 100 years. Nobody has a clue. So how much does it really cost of your time? You don't know. You're really saying, I have other priorities that are more important. Or maybe you're saying, emotionally, I can't handle going out and paying the price of doing whatever I'm supposed to do to accomplish that thing. Now, everything in life has a price. It doesn't matter what it is. You may pay that price with your time. You may be paying that price with physical effort. You may be paying that price with money. It may be a combination of all those things. It may just be that you're focusing on it and thinking about it all the time and trying to analyze, or maybe you're a creative and you're constantly putting yourself into that creative state, which takes a ton of effort. Everything has a price. Are you willing to pay that price? Now let's think about this from a business perspective, because as business owners, one of the biggest things that hold people back as business owners is their mentality. And so I know a guy who would literally drive across town to save 3 cents on gasoline. And he didn't care that it was going to take his whole day. As business owners, when we're operating from that mindset, that's okay, but most likely your business isn't going to be successful, because rather than trying to accomplish the big things that you should be accomplishing, you're worrying too much about the pennies that you're going to have to spend along the way. Businesses are generally there to provide some sort of good or service and get compensated for that. And when they do their business right, the compensation is greater than the cost of providing the good and service. So if you're tripping over all the expenses you have on the way to providing that good or service, you may be costing yourself a lot of customers. Here's a good example. I once knew of a guy who was running his business, and he'd do it the cheapest way possible. He'd buy the cheapest equipment, he'd keep it barely working, and then he would go out and he'd say, everybody else is too expensive. Come to me, I'm half the price of everyone else. Well, of course you're half the price. All of your equipment's garbage, your service level is garbage. People are going to get a garbage experience. He was operating solely from a price perspective, and he thought that if he could lower the cost of doing business with him below what everyone else was charging, he was going to save big. The customers were also going to save big, and everyone would flock to him, because why would you want to pay more when you can get it for less? But what he wasn't thinking was, everybody else doesn't think the same way he does. So he was attracting a bunch of people who didn't want to pay for his service, who would complain about everything, and were trying to nickel and dime him to death. And that's who he was attracting, and his business was struggling because of it. What he needed to realize is everything does have a price, and when you figure out what people actually want and you provide it to them in the way they want it, they're going to pay the value that they perceive it's worth. So because you have different people with different perspectives, and some want really high quality service, some want really low quality service, when you pick which market segment you're going to serve, you're picking to a large degree how much people will pay you for that. Therefore, if you want to be more successful, you figure out the niche that's going to work best for the way you think, and then match your customers up, because if you think low quality, low price is ideal, but you're going out and trying to get all the highest paying customers, you're going to have a disconnect that's going to make it hard for you to deliver the way they want to be served.